Welcome everyone to another super scientist video. Today we got the crazy, the crispy Nikola Tesla. Tesla driving a Tesla. You know him, you love him. The crazy electrical engineer, crazy scientist. We gotta learn about Nikola Tesla. So I have here, he was born in 1856. He was actually Serbian American. I believe he was actually born back in modern day known as Croatia, I believe. Anyway, he did become American, naturalized American. He lived here for a very long time. Once he immigrated back in the, I believe it was in the late 1880s, he immigrated here to do all his electrical work. He was an engineer, an inventor, and a futurist. And the cool thing about being a futurist is it means that he has traveled back from the future to meet us regular folk and do all these crazy inventions of his. So we have the amazing technology of Back to the Future from him to come back. Not exactly, but you get what I'm saying. But then he immigrates to the United States. Some of the people that he worked with, one of the guys actually really liked his work ethic, and so he wanted him to come over to the United States and work with our boy, as I call him, Mr. Lightbulb, Thomas Edison. So I'm going to put it down here, Mr. Lightbulb himself. Mr. Thomas Edison, another inventor dude that, as I say here, invented the light bulb and had tons of companies and tons of people inventing and doing all this work for him as well. Mr. Lightbulb Thomas Edison. So anyway, Tesla leaves working with Edison after only about 6 months to a year, and then he actually starts creating his own inventions. So he was kind of scraping by at this time, and he wasn't really making it big yet, but he was always very creative, and he was kind of a very inventive, very far futurist thinker, as we talked about. So he was a visionary, if you will. There's a good word. But he always thinking ahead. He had a vision. He had a big vision for the future, for electricity. So Mr. Westinghouse here, he he ran his own electrical companies, and he was actually an inventor himself and an industrialist, much like our boy Edison over here. So he was kind of like a rival at this time. Westinghouse is really the beginning of Tesla's legendary career. He funds him some money, invests a bunch for Tesla to do his crazy work, and so he starts working with him, and I think he worked on like subway trains or like train cars and stuff like that. So Tesla started creating designs for the electrical railway systems, I believe, at this time for Westinghouse. Anyway, this was big because this gave Tesla some big money for his work and for his creative scientific juices to work with generators. And there was actually something called the induction motor that Tesla had made, and that's what Westinghouse saw, and he saw a real promise in this induction AC motor. And so because of Westinghouse, Tesla now gets some crazy cool labs, like Dexter's lab, so he gets all his crazy laboratories, and he starts going crazy. He's working for his company, and then on the side, he's like, oh, I got all my crazy labs, I'm going to do all the crazy experiments, I'm going to start making all these crazy motors and generators and stuff, and let's see what I can come up with. So he starts making his own devices as well as working with Westinghouse, and so they kind of had a good relationship for a long time. And in 1891, here's the big, epic, legendary work that Tesla is known for, not the cars. But he creates in 1891, he creates the Tesla Coil. The epic Tesla Coil that you've probably seen. It's like a big, giant ball that shoots out all this crazy electricity. I'll try to draw there. Shoots out tons of electricity. The really cool thing about the Tesla Coil that Tesla invents, it shoots this arc lightning, and it's called kind of like artificial lightning. It's like just creates these crazy big sparks and just artificial lightning everywhere. He's like freaking Magneto in real life. He's like bam, those crazy stuff, or maybe more like Storm, I should say. But anyway, he's shooting out all this lightning in his crazy laboratories and stuff. And this was the cool thing about the Tesla Coil, it was these giant transformers. They're basically transformers, and they use AC current. The cool thing about AC and the cool thing about these transformers is they were very high voltage but very low current. Because voltage, in science terms, voltage is the difference in power supply. So if you have one power output here in the circuit and another power that it connects to, the bridge there, the gap between them is the voltage. So the potential energy that it can create is the voltage. So they're very, very high voltage, so you can create a ton of power with it. But also Tesla made it so it's low current. So actually, you've actually seen these tests before that people can actually have like gloves and stuff, and they can actually control kind of the current of these kind of coils. Nowadays we have it. So at this time in the 1890s and the 1910s, the next like 20 years, he really dedicates a lot of his time, a big chunk of his time. His big boy idea, crazy as he was, he had this amazing idea where he wanted to feed electricity to the whole world. He wanted to bring free electrical energy out to the entire world, and his idea was to use these Tesla coils and other electrical systems like it to shoot out electricity out literally into the air and maybe even through the earth itself. And he envisioned like big giant towers that would just shoot like arc lightning out. And it's a crazy idea, but he had this concept of like, oh, it would be a wireless world. We would have no need for wires because we could just pump the electricity right through the air, and then another transformer could catch it and then feed it out to homes and to factories and other industrial plants. And so he had really big visions for the future of the world. And the only problem is we have this thing called capitalism. So there you go. But he had this big vision of just giving free electricity to everyone in the whole world. The other problem is you can't really just shoot lightning out at people. That's not very safe. Come on, Tesla. I thought he was smart. So I like to call this is Tesla's big visionary future idea. This is the original Wi-Fi, or I like to call it lightning Wi-Fi. So he had this big lightning Wi-Fi idea that he followed for many years in his career. He's like, I'm going to shoot out lightning Wi-Fi. Well, fortunately today we got boring old Wi-Fi, which is a good thing. So today we have, I'm just call it boring Wi-Fi or normal Wi-Fi today. Thankfully we have boring Wi-Fi where we still need wires because basically when you shoot out a transmitted signal like through radio waves, it's a very safe wave, it's very low energy. We can't even see it or really feel it. And so you have to have an antenna pick up that signal, and then it transforms that signal into electrical current through wires, which is much safer. And another thing is AC, not DC current. What is that about? And there became this whole feud with Edison. This is really more of a historical point, but Edison saw the power of direct current. So Edison thought that direct current was the future, just simply because direct current is, and as its name applies, it's simpler. It's direct, it only goes in one line. So if you watch the flow of electrons, they only flow in one way. With alternating current, which is what Tesla always used because it is the power horse, alternating current goes like this and then it goes back and it alternates. So the electrons, the flow of electrons in AC, as Tesla used for his coils and most of his electrical work, they kind of alternate back and forth. And the thing with AC that has proven by far and wide the reason why it's so much far superior than DC is you can create a lot more higher voltage with AC. So the potential power source is way off the charts compared to direct current because you can alternate the voltage and you can supply more by going back and forth rather than just having the electrons flow in a single way. Having the alternating current allows more electrons to flow back and forth, and you can create higher voltages, which is really important for big factories or really important for small devices. So that needed kind of the fact that there's transformers that they can alter the voltage and alter the current is really important, and so AC became very instrumental with that. He also created, as I said, the induction motor, which used AC, and the induction motor uses this thing called a polyphase system. Now, a polyphase system is kind of weird, but he was basically able to get the motor to turn by having a rotating magnetic field. Thank you, Michael Faraday. Epic, legendary there. So by getting a rotating magnetic field, he was able to spin the motor, and that was a pretty epic discovery by Mr. Tesla. He also invented something called one of the first like radio-controlled boats. It was like a mini boat that he had hoped to sell to like the Navy. I don't believe he ever sold these. Maybe he did. I think there's one at the museum, like a Tesla museum. But he actually invented a radio-controlled boat, which is pretty cool. It's like one of the first of its kind where he actually got radio waves to control this boat, which is pretty cool. It's like a small, like almost mini sub or something. I thought that was cool. One of his weirdo inventions. Cool thing of note here is Tesla actually took an image. So after he heard about Rotkin, he actually took an image, all the crazy stuff that he did. He actually took an image of his own hand, x-ray. It was actually a really cool image of his own hand that he took. X-rayed image of his hand, so you can see all the bones in his hand. It's pretty cool. He also had crazy ideas of like, he didn't really believe Einstein was correct. He didn't really buy into like relativity theory and like the new physics of gravity and stuff. He had developed his own theory of gravity, which he never published. And he's like, oh, I got this new gravity theory, but he never, published anything on it. It just was like a weirdo idea of his. Also, he may not have like believed in electrons or something, which is really weird because he's working with electricity, so go figure. But that could be just because, remember, electricity was still fairly new at this time. He's working with it, he understood a lot about it, and just the practical uses of it without knowing the atomic, structure. Maybe he wasn't an atomic physicist or anything, so I thought that was kind of funny, that this guy is working with electricity all his life, and maybe he didn't really quite believe in electrons or wasn't sure about them. I thought that was kind of funny to throw out there. And so that just about does it for our boy Nikola Tesla, Serbian-American dude with the slick back hair, sweet mustache, inventor, scientist, futurist, back from the future, Tesla, driving a Tesla. There's our boy Nikola Tesla. Hope you guys learned something today, and we'll be back with more super scientists coming up.